So a couple months ago, PlayStation came out with yet another PlayStation showcase, but a lot of people weren't too pleased about it. But the one thing that they were pleased about in the whole showcase was this new game, Ghost of Yotei, which is a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. Everybody was hyped when this was first announced. I know I was. I actually did a live reaction to the PlayStation Showcase, which I do quite often, and now do lives every Monday at 12 p.m. CST, so be there, be square. But anyways, we are so excited to see what this new game has entailed. In this video, we're going to be breaking down everything that we know so far. So Ghost of Tsushima came out in 2020, and I can't believe it only came out in 2020 because it seemed like so long ago. But it only seems right that Sucker Punch would want to come out with a sequel, even though it's not really what a lot of fans expected it to be. Instead of this game being a direct sequel, it's actually a thematic sequel. And if you don't know what that means, it means that the game presumably takes place in the same continuity of Ghost of Tsushima, and might have some subtle tie-ins fans will recognize, but it's overall entirely a new story with new characters, the main ties being the feudal Japan setting and similar themes of the Ghost character. So it's a little sad to say that Jin Sakai will not be returning for this new adventure. We all loved him as a character, but realistically, I'm not really sure how far they could have went with the new story for him. I'm pretty sure like his story's told. Although there was one ending where it maybe could have been a little bit more. If anything, I feel like that would have made for like a good DLC or something, which I still think they could put out, but hey. But once the initial shock kind of went away, people actually started to get pretty excited for this new game. And this also means that people who do not play the first game can also just jump into this game without having to play the first game. There's no prerequisites. So there is still a lot about this game that remains unclear, but even from the trailer, we still know a lot. The trailer does provide a good amount of clues to be able to go off of, and it kind of lets us know what to expect. The first thing that we know so far is the new heroine. A woman named Atsu is the new ghost. As I said a little bit before, Ghost of Tsushima dealt with the new adventures of Samurai Jin Sakai, who is forced to question his notoriously rigid code of honor when it proves ineffective against the invading Mongol Empire. Many fans assumed a sequel would just pick up where the first game left off and continue Jin's story. Surprisingly though, this is not the direction Ghost of Yotei went with. Instead, it introduces a new protagonist, a female warrior named Atsu. Sucker Punch has avoided revealing too much of her story, but she appears to be a Ronin, a samurai who lacks allegiance to a specific lord, who is wandering from place to place. The trailer also begins with an unidentified man.
And now, every Ronin here is after you.
Apparently he's a target of hers, delivering a speech that indicates two things about her story. First, she is hunting for someone, or maybe even a group of people. Second, she seems to have enough reputation that every Ronin here is after her. It suggests that Atsu might be an outlaw, and she might have specific targets she needs to find over the course of the game. The next thing that you need to know is that this game will be in a new location, which is kind of common sense. The game is called Ghost of Yotei. The first game was called Ghost of Tsushima because it took place on the island of Tsushima. Ghost of Yotei offers a new setting, one that's actually pretty far away from Tsushima. To put it into perspective, Tsushima is located in the southwest of Japan, right between the rest of Japan and what is now South Korea. Hokkaido, which is where Ghost of Yotei is taking place, is Japan's northmost island, putting it closer to Russia. So this game is quite literally set on the opposite ends of the country, about 2,000 kilometers apart. So yeah, pretty far away. But I mean, for them to be so far away, it still looks pretty much the same as far as the scenes go and the aesthetics, atmosphere, you know what I mean? But there does seem to be quite an emphasis on one particular landmark, Mount Yotei. And this is a real-life active volcano. Commonly compared to the most famous Mount Fuji, the trailer includes several extreme wide shots that put Yotei on full display, and especially to identify it as the game's setting. And if you didn't notice, it is called Ghost of Yotei, not Ghost of Hokkaido, which is a little different from the first game. So it's going to be interesting to see how much this mountain actually plays in the game. Before I give you this next one, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you like the video, and don't forget to turn those notification bells on. The third thing that we know about this game is that it's possible that we're going to have a wolf ally. Now, I have heard this quite a lot actually, that Ghost of Yotei may be experimenting with animal companions. And it's funny because in Ghost of Tsushima, all of Jin's allies were pretty much human, so it's definitely going to be like a different dynamic going in. But there was a theme of him being really connected with animals. Like, I know we all knew the little cutscenes where he would pet the little foxes, and there were also things like him bonding with his horse, and also him following birds and stuff. And Ghost of Yotei might be expanding on that idea. During the opening monologue, there's a close-up of a growling wolf with his jaw covered in blood. It would seem logical to assume that this is an enemy, something reinforced when it appears again towards the end of the trailer. Only instead of attacking Atsu, it immediately calms down, and the wolf seems to turn its attention elsewhere, which is really the same thing that Atsu is looking at before charging forward. And the implication seems to be that they're working together. Again, Ghost of Tsushima did not have this detail whatsoever. Animal companions, I mean. It seems as though Atsu will be accompanied by this wolf throughout the game, probably being able to issue it commands. And how do you guys feel about that? Like, do you think it'd be like a cool thing to do, or do you think a lot of games have already done something like that, so it's not as creative? But again, I mean, the most obvious thing for this role with the wolf would be to provide backup in combat, though a wolf can really have other functions as well. Its second appearance in the trailer almost made it look like it was searching for something, so there could be a way to take advantage of scent trails, which actually would be pretty cool. I mean, we kind of did have that somewhat already, just by, like, you know, using our senses in the other game and stuff like that, but I wonder if it's going to be more enhanced in this game. But there is definitely a bond between the wolf and Atsu. So the next big thing that I have to tell you about is that it's a pretty big time gap from the last game. One surprising detail about Ghost of Yotei is that it is not actually a direct sequel, like I said before. And again, many people would have assumed that this would take place directly after Jin's story and his feud with the Mongols. But Sucker Punch jumped ahead in time for the sequel, and by a significant degree. Ghost of Tsushima took place in the year 1274, while Ghost of Yotei is set in the year 1603, which puts this at 329 years of a difference. And to put this into perspective, we can cross-reference the dates with British monarchs. Ghost of Tsushima would be set shortly after the death of Henry III, newly succeeded by Edward I, the one who would later fight William Wallace. Ghost of Yotei is set in the same year that Queen Elizabeth I died. The time between games would have been enough for Britain to go through 12 kings, 2 queens, the 100 Years' War, and the War of the Roses. And that's a really interesting choice to make by Sucker Punch. Since it implies an entirely new story, the developers appear to be going for a more thematic link to Ghost of Tsushima, rather than a narrative one, which is a particular emphasis on the ghost part in feudal Japan setting. The trailer also indicates that this will impact gameplay in at least one aspect. Atsu will now have access to early firearms. One shot actually shows her using a flintlock musket. Next, we don't know who the antagonists are. Ghost of Tsushima took place during the real-life Mongol invasion of Tsushima Island. Although its primary antagonist, Kodo Khan, was a fictional character, a big theme of the game was the Mongols anticipating the samurai code of honor and incorporating it into their battle tactics, to the point where Jin Sakai only succeeds by subverting their expectations. It made for a great dynamic, exploring questions of what was considered honorable in war. However, the Mongols can be ruled out as the antagonist of Ghost of Yotei. The Mongol Empire ended with the succession crisis that resulted in the Tolid Civil War between 1260 and 1264 AD. The end results was the empire fracturing into several smaller empires. Ghost of Yotei gives the year as 1603 CE, 339 years later. Now, unless Sucker Punch decided to take out some serious creative liberties with their timeline, there is simply no way that the Mongols could return back for the second game. And now it's really unclear exactly who the antagonists are, but there are a few hints. The trailer begins with a speech by an injured man, who just lost a duel with Atsu. Given the apparent circumstances of their meeting and the fact that he dies by her hand, it can become inferred he is an antagonist. And this kind of suggests a revenge story. With Atsu being an outlaw, putting the details together, it implies that instead of an invading force, Ghost of Yotei will instead be about battling corrupt lords with Japan itself, perhaps casting Atsu as a Robin Hood-like figure fighting the poor. One detail that a lot of fans have noticed is that Atsu seems to be holding a scroll in the trailer and in the cover art. The scroll seems to contain 6 Japanese characters, and there are 6 swords available in the cover art. A popular though unconfirmed theory suggests that the scroll is a hit list, and Atsu will be spending the time throughout the game trying to get these targets. So we will have to see what this game entails. I am personally really excited for this game. I most likely will be buying. I feel like something would have to go extremely left for me to not want to buy this game because they impressed me so much with the first one. But what do you guys think? Will you be buying Ghost of Yotei? Or are you even looking forward to it? I know it's kind of too early to tell. But let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Pause for now, play forever. AK out.